Good evening. This is Devious Entertainment. My name is Vlad Danilovich, and with me is Mr. Mateo and Jimmy Jazz. Today is a special spooky episode where we are going to discuss what our favorite movies to watch for Halloween are. Mr. Mateo, what is your favorite movies to watch during Halloween?
Okay. Well, I was deciding between I had two, and well, technically three if you count both of the movies kind of together. But my two other picks before my main is Ghoulies and Ghoulies 2. Those are about these little tiny little demons that basically cause havoc. It's kind of like a ripoff of like Gremlins, but I think they actually came out before Gremlins, but they're like it's more of like a shittier production. They didn't really one made it to theaters, and I don't think the other two movies they made after that didn't make it. The thing was like straight to DVD basically or VHS at that time. But my main movie I'll say is the Krampus. The Krampus is actually a pretty decent movie. I believe it came out in 2015. It's about this little kid that he was told by his family, I believe this is by his grandmother, that or grandmother or like a more of an elderly family friend, that if he doesn't behave right, that the Krampus will show up and he will take away take away anything precious to him, and he was just becoming a little shithead. And later that night, the Krampus strikes his house. He has, I believe, his sister, his uncle, aunt, his mother, father in the house, plus his twin cousins in the house with them, and they're the most evil kids ever. And mayhem just strikes. You basically get Nightmare Before Christmas. If Jack actually succeeds in like dropping off all the toys and leaving them there and just leaving the toys attack overnight properly, then him taking them all back. And they have a giant Jack in a Box snake thing that takes people out, and you have a giant funny what is it, gingerbread fight scene with the uncle, and people they're just fighting each other, and like it's really ridiculous for no reason. But it has a lot of creepy scenes that like he really uses these toys to come through the snow. He basically sends a weather alert storm that covers the whole tri-state area and covers the whole area with like at least 6 feet of snow, and sends everything through it and just digs underneath and breaks into your house and takes everything away. And it's just like weird. The creature design is pretty cool that they have. He's more of a. You ever seen The Village? Yeah, it's basically that kind of creature style. How it's like a hunchback, red cloaked creature, but it's more like has Santa Claus features and giant horns, and so like the take that other people have, that it's like it's basically like Pan's Labyrinth. Like it's pretty, like a lot of people like state it like that, but he's like a lot bigger, muscular, goat human hybrid thing that wreaks havoc. This one takes a different style, making it to that he's shorter, but he's a lot heavier, bulkier creature. But he ends up like having like, I think he has like 3 or 4 of them more into it, like that support the Krampus lifestyle with him. So there's more than just one of them, but there's one lead, the one with the big horns, if you can see in the background. But yeah, it sets up everything. Like it's just a different take, and I'll enjoy like it's like a horror movie that takes place in a different season, instead of just in Halloween or like in or summertime, because a lot of movies and horror movies like or any Halloween based things like some more like fall setting. And I do my favorite other holiday is Christmas, so it's kind of cool seeing this take place on one of my other holidays. But yeah, that basically summons up basically my movie, my favorite Halloween movie. So Jimmy, do you want to go? But you're below me.
Sure. Um, so as far as a favorite, I'm kind of like stuck between two. I mean, because there's always two I will always watch on Halloween, which the first one is more for the comedic end, Shaun of the Dead. Um, it's a classic at this point. I remember when no one knew about it, when I could be official hipster with it. But um, basically, Shaun of the Dead is about two best friends who live together. One's a deadbeat, does nothing all day, eats cornetto ice cream, and plays video games against a bunch of kids, while the other one pretty much is trying to hold a dead end job while also failing at his relationship horridly. And in the midst of this, a zombie apocalypse breaks out, and it's a chance for him to kind of step up haphazardly and take control and prove to his girlfriend that you know he's the one for her and that he can be serious and responsible. And then it leads to them being holed up in a pub called the Winchester, and it's about them surviving the moment. And I won't give away too many details if you haven't seen it, but it's definitely worth a watch. And it's one of those movies I remember when it came out, my friend and I found it. Actually, someone ripped it onto the internet, and my neighbor and I, we watched it, fell in love with it. And then eventually I found it in a movie store and have the DVD and pretty much been watching it annually ever since. Start off Halloween with a good joke and then move right into this little horror show right here. So I follow, comedic gold with horrifying alien, which, it's one of those films that I feel like it's beautiful in a weird way and it holds up, not how it's supposed to, where it's like it as a kid, it horrified me. I watched it probably way younger than I should have. And at that point, I was terrified for the rest of my life. Any crawl space, I would never go near because, one of these might be in it, might get a xenomorph. Um, but, it's about basically, you know, pretty much a survival horror where a ship crashed. Well, they kind of crash. They find some alien eggs. Someone gets impregnated with said eggs, and then unknowingly they bring it on the ship, and then it's about them trying to hold out against this hulking, drooling, acidic blood behemoth. And I think what makes it so much fun and why I still love it so much and want to watch it on Halloween is, yeah, it's someone in an alien suit. And there's certain scenes like it's now kind of this corny as heck watching it. Some of the effects don't necessarily hold up, but it still holds up so well that you can show it to somebody and they'll say, oh, this isn't scary, but man, I could imagine how this terrified someone back in the day, how this was like the epitome of a horror movie at its day because it's done so well. The costume, everything they put into Alien is still horrifying. If someone was in that suit and, jumped out at me in the hallway, I'd be running for the hills, peeing my pants. No questions asked. So I know it's pretty much become a staple. I'll watch that movie all year round, but definitely for Halloween. And even though it's not a movie, I'll give an honorable shout out to Scooby Natural because that's also something I'll happily watch on Halloween just because it's a mix of supernatural, Scooby-Doo, it's a mystery, there's murder, it kind of balls into nice little holiday fun there. So, yeah. So, how about you, Mr. Vampire Dude, Sir, Person, Guy?
Yeah. Every October that comes around, I get super nostalgic and I want to make sure that Halloween's my favorite holiday. So I want to make sure that I'm like doing it right. So there's usually like a list of movies that I plan to have to watch in October. And there are a few movies that are always on the list. Usually I try to challenge myself to watch new movies that I haven't seen before. And it's interesting that I have some runner ups. And it's interesting that you say that you watched Alien like way before you were probably, too young. Because that's one of the movies on mine. And I think I've mentioned it on YouTube before. I when I was really young, I watched Sleepy Hollow, and it scared the hell out of me. Like I couldn't go into the shower and like close my eyes because I thought that the headless horseman was going to come in and chop my head off. So that's a movie that I love to watch every single year. Ever since then, Halloween time comes around. I like that movie in particular because of where we live, in the Hudson Valley, um, having Sleepy Hollow be a location that we can go to, and having this be a monster, unlike Frankenstein and Dracula, where this is actually an urban legend that is around here. That makes it really exciting for me. So, but that's just a runner-up. The other runner-up is Nosferatu, which is the original sort of Dracula movie. That's one that's always on my list. But the one that I watch closest to Halloween is Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, and that was one that I watched when I was real young. And part of the reason I think I like it so much is, yeah, I could watch Dracula, I could watch Frankenstein, I could watch The Wolfman, or I can watch Van Helsing, and it's got all three of them in one. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Mummy, and this is the same director, Stephen Sommers. Somers, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's the same director and has that same feel. Like it's action packed, it's funny, and it's got a lot of horror elements. Yeah, it's just overall it's super spooky, and it's just perfect for Halloween. I don't know how to explain it. You just gotta watch it. I've suggested to many friends to go watch it, and I always try to put it on for people when it's Halloween. Like it's October and like people are over, I'm gonna like try to sneak Van Helsing on the TV somehow. But that's it. It was a dark and spooky night when Devious Entertainment and the Rabbit Hole wrapped up their episode on their favorite movies to watch in October. Thank you for watching. If you want to, you can subscribe, but don't let the man tell you what to do. Follow your heart. Let it lead you away from damnation and darkness. Come, my child. Pull the string.
The hand.
You have to be double jointed, Hungarian.
All right, Edward.
And that's a wrap.